Olivia, thank you so much for this. I'm impressed with the scope of your ambition, and everything here has real potential. As you will see, I started doing the line edits and then they fell off a bit as I realized that perhaps we need to have a larger discussion about the direction that this is heading. I have some general notes on the writing itself if you want to start tinkering. Hi, I'm Anna Marie Cox. I am a political writer and one-time colleague of Olivia Nuzzi. I also teach writing workshops, and I think that combination is why when this excerpt from Olivia's book came across the internet, I was drawn to look at it as a colleague and an editor and not just a spectator to a train wreck. I also sincerely believe that everyone deserves a good editor. So this is my edit. Those metaphors. I can see why you've gravitated to the fire, the LA fire, as a real backdrop to a metaphorical flameout. And that works. It may work too well because you're leaning on it as a kind of abstracted event rather than giving us your lived experience of the fire. Put us next to you. The one line about windows turning black gives me a taste of what you can do with it. Were you worried about your house or your friends or your neighbors? Right now, it seems like you weren't, and that says something about you may not mean to say. The flame mirror stuff with Trump, I'm afraid, doesn't work at all. The gun and bullet stuff. I have more to say about that as a topic a little later. It is genuinely incredible that he said he'd take a bullet for you and then asked you to take a bullet, as it were, for him. You need to use that. However, and this goes for most of your metaphors, you must parse through these references for continuity with how bullets or guns or flags or flames really work. Or maybe, and this is just a thought, the bullets and guns don't need to be transformed into explicit metaphors. I would take a bullet for you, the politician said. He always said that. Please don't say that, I said. I always said that. Delete everything else in that paragraph. It lands. Okay, the flag stuff. Again, think through the physics of flags and how people wield them, which brings us to passive voice and invisible subjects. This is a thematic issue as well as a grammatical one, but it drove me especially crazy in the flag section. Who clutched the flag? Who refashioned it? It mutated from a metaphorical to a literal weapon. I assume on January 6th, well, a particular group mutated it. You could describe the actual violence and who perpetrated it. And whenever possible, name who is doing what to whom. That one change in approach will also give you scenes. And anytime something is literal, you have a chance for a scene, and that will make the metaphor more powerful. Use scenes more, generally. Right now, you're in a kind of gauzy memory mode. I do pay attention to the moon, he once told me. Okay. That's fantastically weird. When did he tell you that? Where? How did it come up? And this brings me to some top-level concerns. In this story, we have a real opportunity to talk about the selfishness of elites, including you, as it plays out in the lives of real people. The references to how the LA fire dramatized structural inequalities are important, even if they feel a little distant. You should do more of that. And to return to that fire metaphor, Olivia, your personal wildfire has caused casualties beyond your career and relationship, and even personal safety, as important as all of those things are. Did the way you cover those men, RFK and Trump, fan flames? You write that your job, as you understood it, was to simply bear witness to politics, that you have never really been interested in politics, you say, and it shows. You say your fascination with these characters is what drove you, and this too shows. But looking at the mess we're in today, the one you dramatize with flags and talk of a warped reality, is it possible that your disinclination to think about the impact of these characters on the American people, rather than an admittedly crazy-making media landscape, is part of our national tragedy? More to the point, did your silence about the affair help RFK escape consequences and thus secure an appointment at HHS? If you came forward and came completely clean with genuine regret and acknowledgement of harm done, that could have been the real sacrifice. That could have been you taking a bullet for the greater good and not his career. Or maybe not, but it's something I would force myself to think about if I were you. I also might think about what caused me to romanticize a man with such a body count in his wake. Falling rates of vaccination, as egged on by Kennedy for years and now institutionalized by his changes in policy at the CDC, are killing people. I've seen modeling that shows a 5% decline in measles vaccine uptake among children means a 3-fold increase in cases, and low uptake in flu vaccines has led to record numbers of deaths due to the flu. And then there's the autism bullshit, which is eugenics. Why was he appealing to you? Why did you pursue him? Why did you stay involved, though it meant crossing such dramatic ethical boundaries? Those of us raised by alcoholics, and thank you for being honest and vulnerable about that, keep trying to get the thing we didn't have at home from the same kind of people we had at home, and it never works. I've come to terms with how much of what I thought was love was really a compulsive search for approval and stability I didn't feel capable of creating for myself. Again, many of us raised by alcoholics know that pattern intimately. You might want to check out the adult children of alcoholics groups near you if you want a guide to that sort of excavation. Maybe you're already doing the work I'm talking about in therapy, but from personal experience, that kind of therapeutic processing gives invisible scaffolding to the writing itself, and I'm not seeing that here. You may have set your life on fire, but you were not seriously burned. And we're looking forward to publishing this book, but I think we're all aware of how many journalist books we do not publish. We can point to your talent as what makes you the exception, but no one is fooling themselves to think it's just that. Olivia, your fame is part of this swirl of destruction that you want to document. I'm not judging you personally. Your fame and the way you've been able to recover your career are themselves symptoms of our national distress. Your apparent blindness to your place in things is going to make others doubt your insight as a political observer. Right now, to be honest, you're covering yourself the way the old you would have covered you, as a character first, without much regard to what your character flaws have wrought. Lastly, I'm worried about you. If you still own the gun you wrote about, I beg that you sell it or give it to a trusted friend for safekeeping. That whole section, this whole piece, is full of references to self-annihilation, drowning, disappearing, melting. I know about these thoughts. They're common to us adult children of alcoholics. They can be, if you will, a kind of brainworm. I worry that the unprocessed prose here is feeding that curl of self-pity and hopelessness rather than excising it. You're clearly patterning off of Joan Didion, and she's one of my faves. Aim high. But the key to her brilliance is compression, elegance, each word a tiny gift, carefully chosen. And most of all, she never indulges. There are passages where you describe dynamics that are genuinely harmful to you. Kennedy appears to be incredibly manipulative and, as he admits, a pathological liar. You may have approached him at first, but the power dynamic wasn't equal. And the vitriol that came your way when all this broke, the harassment, the sadism from commenters, the way misogyny attaches itself to any woman's misstep, none of that was deserved. But there's also a persistent passivity. Life is never cleanly sorted into victims and villains. You can be both. People and events wounded you, and you've written around that pain in metaphor, circling it rather than naming it or taking us through it. Give us the scenes, give us the exact words. Show us what happened rather than relying on the feeling memory alone. Don't aim for readers to sympathize with you. Tell them in detail with quotes and actions and sensations what you went through. And then trust that it was bad enough, and I think it was bad enough, that you don't need to persuade them. Maybe they'll sympathize, maybe they won't, but they'll respect you for the clarity. There's one moment in the excerpt where the lyricism falls away, when you move from symbolic to embodied and describe your numbness in my chest, in my spine, around my belly button. And then you reveal the presence of the gun. It is the most unadorned and direct piece of writing in the whole chapter. No myth, no monster language, no fire, no national allegory, no metaphor, just the fact of the gun and the fact of your blankness. And that's the level of clarity the rest of the book needs. Not more pain, not more confession, just the courage to stay literal when the stakes are the highest. That's where the truth is. It's also what scares me the most. If the book moves toward that register, I want to make sure it does so looking backward. The danger is in leaving that door open rather than closing it with self-understanding. If you put this out as it is, there will be howls. I know you think you're prepared for that. You are not. You cannot preemptively address every criticism, but what you can do in advance is expose the work to as many critical readers as possible, whether you take their advice or not. I'll be honest, I might find it difficult to find a sensitivity reader for this, but we should try. Are there any Black female journalists you admire? You need to be confident you've done the best work possible. That's the only defense that will keep the outrage from crushing you. I need to deliver a hard truth. You've written a book about consequences without yet looking directly at your own. This avoidance makes the literary filigree more than a decoration. It makes your excesses a kind of lie. Cut until only the true things remain. That's where the book starts. Let's have lunch next time you're in town. Best, Anna. And that's it for the edit. If you enjoyed this and found it interesting and want to see more of this kind of thing, please do leave a comment and maybe suggest what you'd like to see edited. If what you'd like to see edited is your content, then you can check out my website, AnnaMarieCox.com, or go to my brand new Patreon, patreon.com/AnnaMarieCox. I offer admission to writing sessions every weekday morning, and then also you can get a one-on-one editing session with me once per month for a Patreon membership at the highest tier. I hope you enjoyed this as much as I did, and sincerely, everyone deserves a good editor.